Okay, so as Leslie has shown, BDS is not a new company. We've been around for 30 years, and we've got 30 years worth of experience of providing libraries with metadata. And over those 30 years, we've built up a team with a wealth of experience and expertise. And that really helps us when we're bringing new services, because we've got experience of working across not just the library sector, but also the wider book industry as well. So we're able to provide tried and tested services, but also we're looking at providing new and innovative services like UniCat, and that really puts us in a good position to do so. So UniCat is a relatively new service, but it's built upon the work that we've done with public libraries over the last 30 years and the way in which we've transformed the service for them. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. So apologies that I'm talking about public libraries to university librarians, but hopefully you'll see that it is actually relevant. So currently we supply marked records to every UK and Irish local authority. So that means every public library in the UK is using BDS data on a daily basis. And we're also supplying images and enriched content to them as well, so that's to supplement the marked content. And these services meant that public libraries now have huge efficiencies from where they used to be, and the cost savings that have come with that have been really important to them, especially when there were budgetary constraints, which have been for a long time in public services. So how did all this actually come about? Well, 30 years ago, and Leslie alluded to this, 30 years ago every public library stock supplier and every public library authority in the country were creating their own records, and that was clearly very inefficient. It meant there were teams of librarians and cataloguers in every public library service doing the same work, creating the same records for the same books that they were buying. And two very clever people, I would say this because they're in the room, obviously, and they're paying my salary, but it's true. They saw the need for an agency, a centralised body that would be able to do this work on behalf of everybody, so that the record was created once and could be used many times by everybody who needed it. And BDS, as Leslie has said, was founded in February 1995. So initially, when BDS was set up, we supplied metadata to public library stock suppliers, and they then passed the records on to each local authority. They knew what was being purchased, so that they were best placed to actually pass the information on. And the way it used to work is that the stock suppliers were charged by BDS, and then they in turn would charge each public library authority for the records that they were sending to them. And that's pretty similar to what's happened until this point with university libraries, where we supply the stock suppliers with records and they pass them on. But I think that situation's further complicated because universities are buying records from other sources, stock suppliers are creating their own records. It's very difficult sometimes, I think, to work out where the records originated and who's actually responsible for it. So how did BDS change things for public libraries? So we introduced a BDS public library licence, and that changed the way in which payment for records was made. So instead of each stock supplier paying us for records, it meant that each individual local authority paid BDS directly instead. And the stock suppliers agreed at that point that they would no longer charge local authorities for the supply of records. And again, that situation is mirrored in what's happening at the moment, where we have UniCat subscribers, where they pay BDS directly, and the stock suppliers no longer charge them for records. And because we have 100% of local authorities subscribing to the public library licence, as Leslie said, that's actually allowed us to spread the cost of the creation of records, so the service is cheaper than it would be for each individual public library authority to have their own team of cataloguers and to create the records themselves. So obviously that's given them huge cost savings and lots of efficiencies there as well. It also means, because everyone's using our records, that we can permit sharing of records across the country, so across consortium and union catalogues. Public libraries can share records, and as long as they all continue to pay us, of course, we have no problem with that. It also means that we now have a direct relationship with each individual library authority, which is really important to have that direct contact with each of our customers, because it means that, you know, if things do go wrong, and we are human, as Leslie said, it's a team of people who are actually creating the records at BDS. When things go wrong, when there are errors in records, it means that we can deal with resolution of issues really quickly and get records fixed and out to people. So what we've effectively done with public libraries is divorce the supply of metadata from the supply of stock. So it doesn't really matter where you buy the books from, because the records come from BDS. So when we introduced the public library licence, clearly I've talked about the payments changing from stock supplier to being direct between BDS and library customer. But initially, the stock suppliers continued to supply the market data. They knew what was being purchased, so it made sense for them to pass it on. But because of our partnerships and because of our industry knowledge, we've actually been able to actually change the supply of stock as well. So we now supply directly into public libraries as well. And that's particularly, as I say, with our work with LMS suppliers that we've been able to do that. So what happens is that when an order is placed on a library system, we get a copy of the ISBN and we interrogate our database and send the ISBN back to the LMS supplier, who then load it in on behalf of the library. And that's all an automated process, so it happens behind the scenes. So nobody has to sit and request records, nobody has to load records into their systems. It's a really efficient and streamlined way of working. And that process actually happens twice. So it happens once upon order, and it happens again upon invoice, because as Leslie said, we see a lot of books upon publication, and we actually create book in hand records which reflect the actual published book. And that means that those records are also automatically available to all of our customers via this service as well. So we've really streamlined metadata for public libraries. I mean, now it's the case that libraries receive books, or the e-books in some cases, but books into their libraries. They take them out of the boxes, they receive them onto the system, and they put them on shelves. They're not checking records, they're not having to search for records or load them in any way. And it happens so much behind the scenes that quite frequently now I'm getting phone calls from procurement departments saying, I've got this invoice, what's it actually for? Because the service is so streamlined, they don't actually see it working in any way, it just sits behind the scenes and works. And the great thing is that we can now replicate all of these efficiencies and benefits in our UniCat service to academic libraries. So we're really building on all the work we've done with LMS suppliers and within BDS itself to actually offer more efficient services to universities as well. So UniCat subscribers also receive records from BDS upon order, and that saves you having to create your own records or searching and downloading them from external databases, and that's obviously driving efficiencies, allowing librarians time to do other things. And the quality of our records is guaranteed as well. So again, it's removing that need for local checking or amendment of records when you actually receive the books. So in addition to metadata for new orders, all of our customers also have access to our back catalogue, and that's 30 years worth of high quality records that can be used for donations, for older stock, older material that might be being purchased, or for items brought outside the library management system. And we've got different interfaces for the delivery of those records as well, including quite old technologies like Z3950 and then more up-to-date APIs and things like that. And most public libraries who use our services also use images and enrichment services as well for their online public access catalogues, and they use APIs to deliver content in real time. And again, we're actually now able to offer all of these services to UniCat subscribers as well. So I think we all know from personal experience that local authorities have been cutting services for some time, and that budgets have really been under pressure. And it's because we're able to provide these cost-efficient services to public libraries, it means that we're able to function and to continue to provide public library services. And we've got affordable services, obviously it's comprehensive in terms of the metadata that we're providing to them, they're very high quality records, and it's a very efficient and reliable service that they can rely on. And I think, again, we can all acknowledge that academic budgets are coming under similar pressures now, and I think we're all very happy to be able to offer this tried and tested experience that we've had with public libraries and to actually offer that to university libraries as well.